family, so he's, the black sheep of my mother's side. Okay, away we go.
Well, we're going to start? Yeah, Laura said she wants to start.
Welcome, welcome. I'm glad to see some folks here, and we've had a lovely day for it. So I just wanted to open our listening session for today. My name's Lori Dodd. I am the director for a resident association that's been elected from the North Point District. I was elected about a year ago. I've got 2 more years left on my term, but there are also, lots of other board members for other districts and at large. I wanted to just begin by introducing, we've got Erwin Flashman, who is our director from the Lake Ann District, who is here today. And we've got Bob Petrine, who is our treasurer and at-large member, who is here today. And we've also got our CEO, Matt Cummings, here. We've got some staff members. We've got Laura Kowalski, here you are.
Hi.
She's our Director of Recreation, Environmental Education, and Member Services. Did I get it all?
Yeah, it's a lot, huh?
A lot.
It's a mouthful.
And we've got Rob Tucker, who is our Tennis and Pickleball Manager at Resident Association. And we've got Sean Barani from our Communications Department. And anyone else here I need to be introducing? Oh, I'm sorry?
Philip Williams, Communications Department.
Oh, Philip from the Communications Department. Good to meet you. So, I'm so sorry. Tell me, remind me your name.
Sandra Kona from Covenant.
All right, so Sandra's here from Covenants, and so it's great because, I hope you all, this is meant to be a listening session, and I know that you might have questions about any of these areas, so that's why we try to bring people along who would be able to answer questions that you might have. This is the second out of 6 member listening sessions that we're going to be conducting over the next 4 weeks. We had one already in the Hunters Woods District earlier this week. There will be 2 other district meetings, and there's also going to be an in-person and a virtual session that's focused on the at-large candidates. You're welcome to attend any or all of them. So if one, fits better in your schedule than others, please do it that way. I'm going to take my mask off while I'm at the microphone, but I'm mindful that when we have our event on Monday, we have heard that someone ended up being COVID positive after the event, and so I just wanted to encourage people to be as careful as you feel you want to be. Oh, I also just wanted to mention we've got another board member who's come in. This is Jennifer Juszczyk. She's our vice president of the board, and the district, I'm sorry, you're from which district? South Lakes District, of course. So, I'm glad that we are able to have an in-person component of this because so much of our communication has been over Zoom or other kinds of remote means, and it's awfully nice to be here in person and see and talk with you all. Because, Resident Association, we are a member organization. We try to provide a lot of services to our homeowners, and it helps so much to have opportunities when we can touch base with you all and find out what questions or concerns you've got on your mind. So we're going to start with brief presentations, but we're going to try to be done by 7:30 with the presentation, 7:35, so that more of the time can be spent listening. So be prepared with your questions. And if anyone feels more comfortable writing down a question instead of speaking it orally, we can also make arrangements at the table for you to get a piece of paper and write it down. So whatever way you would like to communicate. So if you do have a question, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand when the time comes, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, just so we can hear from everyone who's here. I'm also going to have some of the candidates who are running, because we're getting ready to have an election for the next round of directors, and so there are some candidates who may want to make some comments too. So we'll allow them to do that. So this has been an exciting year for me. My first year as an RA director, and the best thing that we've done so far is to hire our new CEO, Matt Cummings. And so we've had a lot of time getting him on board and up to speed, and I'm really excited at the new energy that comes with that. And you all probably have already heard that Larry Butler, Mr. Reston, was kind enough to delay his retirement, but we're going to finally allow him to retire when the summer comes. And so there's going to be a lot of continuity, because I know some of our staff have been here for decades, but we've also got a bit of a change coming, and I'm excited by it. So I just wanted to be sure that the topics that we're going to make sure that we cover, and then we can also cover whatever else people ask about, is an update on Reston Town Center North, because there's land use decisions that are going on there, what's happening with our library, what's happening with lots of things that are going on in that part of Reston, and so our CEO is going to talk about that. I also know many of you may be interested in pickleball or tennis, some of the most popular activities around here. I myself am a bit of a swimmer, and I was pleased that we were able to keep Lake Newport Pool open for another week late in the season last year, and we want to do what we can to accommodate those who appreciate that pool as one of our great assets here. And then, yes, so we're also going to have an update on Lake Newport swim hours and adult swim activities and such. So, to start off with, I am going to introduce Matt Cummins, our CEO, and ask him to update us about Reston Town Center North and the county task force.
Thanks, Larry. I'll go ahead and take my mask off too, if that's all right with everybody. I've had night meetings every night this week, so I've been out and about. And Laura's right, we did have 1 or 2 positive cases, but I feel like that's becoming more the norm in March of 2020. So yeah, we thought it might be good. We're kind of customizing these listening sessions to talk to issues that are kind of prevalent or that we think might be prevalent. But to Lori's point, we're here to listen. So one of the things I do is just take my leather journal where I go and write down questions and make sure our staff gets back to you. I think just by way of introduction, it might be worthwhile for me to tell you all, I'm brand new to the community. If I say brand new, I mean living anywhere east of Denver. So it's been an unbelievable experience. I just hit about 5.5 months here in Reston. I actually live just up the walking trail up here off North Village Way, so I walk down here all the time. I got here just before the end of Labor Day because I've got a teenage daughter who is over here at Herndon High School and in the band for anybody that has kids have been over there. So anyways, we are absolutely loving being here. And one of the things that I told the board, and I will tell you all, one of the things that attracted me out here, it really was the job. And it was not just a job, it was a chance to be part of Reston. And I think of Reston, so I originally started as a city planner, and we studied Reston in the early 1990s as an example of live, work, and play, and mixed use, and building community using physical facilities, and all these different sorts of quality of life kinds of things. So I've sort of followed Reston from afar as the Silver Line kind of finished getting approved and getting built, and the town center developments and those sorts of things. So from my standpoint, this is one of the most amazing communities in the entire country, and I couldn't be more excited to be here. So I'm happy to field any questions you have about the entire organization and some things that we're up to. But specifically, we knew there might be some questions about what's happening at I love the acronyms out here too, so we all just roll off RTC North. So RTC is of course Reston Town Center, and if you all think of where the Spectrum is, kind of where the Harris Teeter and some of those are, just to the west of there are some government buildings. There is some planning, city planning that's starting there now, and Supervisor Alcorn has appointed a task force specifically to report to him to provide input on what to do over there. Now there are multiple layers of this, so we could have a whole long presentation on this. I just want to give you the high points and take any questions. There is a parallel effort that was meant to be finished first, which is an update to the comprehensive plan, the Fairfax County land use plan and policy plan around open space, a whole bunch of different things. That was meant to be finished before this. It was not for a variety of reasons, and is still stalling and working its way through the system. However, at the same time, Supervisor Alcorn has appointed a task force. It's probably important for everybody to know we asked for a seat on that task force. We do not have a seat on that task force, so we are staying intricately involved in sending primarily staff, but some of the board members are going on their own as well to attend the task force meetings. The primary purpose of the task force is to provide input to Walter on what major civic uses should be over there. There's a whole lot of policies that are trying to get implemented. So we have the government buildings, there are human services, there are public uses and potentially recreation facilities and a host of different things. So our interest in that is in staying on top of that and making sure that the requirements in the memorandum of understanding, which is an agreement between RA and Fairfax County, get implemented appropriately, and that the uses that occur over there are symbiotic and actually help us in terms of our own community. So the task force basically meets periodically. They've only had one meeting so far. They just started. Most of that was a variety of questions about how are we going to do this work if the comprehensive plan hasn't yet been adopted? Why is this happening in this sequence? And there was sort of a, yeah, we're going to keep moving them both forward kind of answer. So I don't have a whole lot to report to you on that, but we will get a lot more involved as they get into the meat, of what it looks like. So I'll go ahead and just stop there, and then if there are questions about all of RA, happy to answer those or defer to staff if they're the more appropriate person. Okay, well, you'll see my wife and I biking and walking all over the place. Please don't be shy. I mean, I am serious. I'll see you down at the farmer's market or just walking around, and I'm starting to get noticed and introduced myself to people all the way. So, yeah, Dodger fan. I'm sorry.
About that RTC North, are there a couple of major directions that it could go that you could describe in broad description?
Yeah, in broad description, the question is, foundationally, what types of civic uses or else public uses should be on the site and how should they be laid out, and then how to implement the policies that are contained in the comp plan, but again, that's not done yet. And so the comp plan contemplates land uses and what you think of as height and density and those sorts of things. So, but it's a policy document and then down into the more granular level. So the question is, how do those things actually happen in parallel? Because normally they're sequential.
I guess I'll ask, how did this even come about? Reston, I moved here 10 years ago. The amount of building that has gone on astounds me. And it changes for me what living is like here. How does that, who decides that all of a sudden we have to change huge parcels of land into something different?
So who decides how that happens? To sort of describe, I probably could have started this, I'm sorry. So I spent the last 25 years of my professional career actually as a city planner. So I managed planning departments for different cities. City in our terms would be like the geographic size of all of Reston, maybe over to Tyson's, kind of as that geographic area. Fairfax County, of course, much larger. There's a couple main drivers from my perspective, but I of course haven't been here that long. The idea of having a significantly dense thing there at Town Center was obviously decided a long time back. So the original Town Center concept was in the 80s, but a major driver of growth is the rail and coming in there. And then incrementally, it has been my experience, I'm suspecting some of the long-time people who have been following this would confirm this. Every time something becomes valuable, the person next door tries to value their property at least that much, and they ask for a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and then the zoning starts to creep a little bit. And there have been a series of upzonings that have occurred through the years. Is that fair for some of our people who have been following Fairfax County through the years?
That's all correct.
But also, can I just add, Reston, is not a city. We are an unincorporated part of Fairfax County. So land use decisions are largely made at the county level. So that's why he's referred to Supervisor Walter Alcorn. You may remember I ran for that position back in 2019. Walter Alcorn has been holding that position. And so that's why Reston Association, we are not a government body, so to speak, but we are the largest homeowners association around. We've got a lot of people who have a lot to say, who have a lot of quality of life issues. And so that's why we make sure to try to be heard by Walter Alcorn, our elected representative. That's why we tried to make sure that we got a seat on that task force. We didn't get a seat, but we're going to have a presence, and we're going to make sure that the point of view of RA members is heard. But a lot of the decisions that are made at the county level. There's already the transit corridor, Reston Town Center Transit Corridor is subject to different density rules than the north and the south sections that are more residential. And so it becomes very complicated. who makes what parts of each decision. And, you know, we're glad to have someone who is as knowledgeable and skilled in the area to be our guide, but his powers are limited because of our political structure here.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, what I moved here about, 2.5 years ago, and I started out first in Reston Center, just looking for a place. And I was told by many people that I ran into, who have been living here quite a while, saying how disappointing it has been to see the merchants and so suffering because of the parking situation in Reston Town Center. And, I'm just asking, it's so unfortunate that so many stores are closing that we would like to let them go on. And is there any plan to try and increase the parking or try to draw people back to Reston Center?
So I don't know the specific answer to that question. I'm happy to follow up on it. Reston Association, of course, doesn't include the town center. It certainly does not. So Reston Association is all the residential and a little bit of mixed use that there are these village centers that kind of dot. And then kind of right down the middle on either side of the toll road are sort of inside the transit area, and they are not governed by Reston Association.
And let me say, the other thing about Reston Town Center is that not only is it not governed by RA, but it's also, the Reston Town Center property is privately owned. Those streets that look like the normal roads, those are privately owned roads. So if they want to keep me from carrying a demonstration sign, vote for my candidate, or let's have peace, that's private property and they can kick me off. And I was confused by that when I came to Reston, because the name Reston Town Center suggests something other than what it is. It is a private shopping area that Boston Properties runs. They made the decision about parking. They've got a lot of blowback, but they continue to be a very successful entity. And so I don't know how a citizen who wanted to have input on those decisions, when those decisions were being made, I was one of those people who went to meetings that were sponsored by Boston Property to try to make sure that our views were heard. And Boston Properties makes decisions on their own.
How did that come about, Colton? How did that come about that they privately owned?
It takes a lot of money.
It really started when Metro, people were starting to park there for the Metro.
But even before then, it was already privately owned, and, when Reston first developed, there was a time when property was owned by one entity. But that becomes expensive, and there was a time when that was not able to be maintained. And so, yes, that it makes having a planned community, like Reston likes to think itself being, very difficult, because there are many areas, many bodies that are outside of the control of our residents.
Like many cities, Boston Properties sold the rights to the parking to a private firm who control the costs and whether they're not well known, but I grew up in Chicago. All the parking in Chicago was owned by Morgan Stanley.
So, two questions. One, does Reston Association have any input into whether or not there will be a casino in this area? And the second question will be, answer that one first.
I think everybody's smiling because casino questions are a juggernaut for a variety of reasons. As Laura's mentioned before, of course, we don't control land use in any scenario. We, of course, will be active in any land use. Well, I can't say that. One of the priorities for the board routinely is to talk about the role of being advocates around land use. So that's an ongoing discussion, what should RA's role be? And I only mention that because we also have a primary role to own physical assets like pools and tennis courts and this facility, and others. But I would anticipate that any land use decision of such a magnitude, RA continues to want to be involved in.
Is anyone advocating that strongly, or?
No, I haven't heard it at all except on the news.
And that would require a state decision in the General Assembly before it would ever come to us. So we're far from that right now.
There was a bill before the General Assembly
Yeah.
this time,
and it was killed in committee, so
Yeah.
it didn't get out.
Didn't even get out to the floor of the
The
legislature.
place they were looking at was perfect.
Oh, I see.
It's an election.
Second question is just on the two golf courses in Reston. I think those are privately owned as well, and hopefully will remain as golf courses for a long time. But how does Reston Association get involved in maintaining that status quo?
So two things there. You're correct in the ownership. One is operated as a private club, of course, one is operated as a public golf course, but it's privately owned, owned by the county. So we've adopted as RA an official position on that, saying that they should remain golf courses. So the board took formal action so that we can then speak publicly out in the county about the whole Reston Association position that they should remain golf courses. And we actually had an opportunity to do that earlier this fall because the developer of the South Golf Course proposed some zoning and development on the site, and that was stopped early on in the stages.
And that's because under the comprehensive plan, these are held open as open space. And so it doesn't have to stay a golf course. There are a couple of other recreational uses that would also be consistent with that comprehensive plan. But the people who have been talking about changing it have been wanting to develop it as, commercial or residential or whatever. And that would not comply with the Reston Comprehensive Plan. And even though we're going through an update of the plan, that aspect of preserving open space is not something that's going to be changed. So, Reston Association will, I assume, continue to back up the resolution we had voted on back in 2018, 19, to support maintaining the golf courses as open space for golf courses. Yes.
But that will come up every couple of years as an issue?
Well, that's why we've got in the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is up for updating on a regular basis.
Every 5 years.
But it's every 5 years. And so we'll hear it brought up again and again. But once it's in that comprehensive plan, they would have to go through a big zoning change to get anything done. And there are lots of ways the pressure, the power is exerted through those zoning proceedings. So it's an issue to be vigilant about, but I'm feeling pretty good about where we are right now on that issue. And Walter Alcorn has also said, as long as the people around the golf course want it to be a golf course, then I'm not going to vote for it to be anything different. So.
Jennifer?
Just wanted to comment, we do have a little bit more say on the north course because it is under covenant property, right? So our DRB would have to evaluate and also approve anything that would go into that property. Whereas the south course is not under covenant, right? So we have less say.
So Matt is going to stick around and can answer more questions, but why don't we move on and get to the next part of our discussion, because I'd like to introduce Laura Kowalski. She's been with us at Reston Association for a long time. She is, as I say, the Director of Recreation, Environmental Education, and Member Services.
So I was told that, we're in recreation, so Rob and I was told that we're not allowed to bring the equipment out and let you all play games. We can certainly do that another time. So my name is Laura Kowalski, and with me tonight is Robert Tucker. He is what are you? You're the tennis and?
Tennis and pickleball program manager.
So there are other managers. So I want to tell you a little bit about what we do. And I heard somebody 10 years, anyone less than 10 years? Less than 10 years? Okay, good. So our department is really fun. We're the fun department, and we have camps and tennis and pickleball. We have volunteer Reston, so if you're interested in volunteering, the Walker Nature Education Center, community events, and pools, aquatics, the biggest one. And so we have a variety of activities, facilities, and it's a great place to be. I grew up in Reston. I actually went to Lake Ann Elementary School and all the way through South Lake, so I'm a Reston kid. So this is very exciting for me to be here to kind of give back for all the fun that I had growing up. Our capital director is not here this evening, and so on the capital website, there's a laundry list of all of the capital improvements, but I just want to highlight a few for this district so that you know it is coming. This building is right now currently underway. There's a new HVAC system, I know that's not shiny and fantastic, but it's really fun for us when we're renting out the facility. And we do rent this facility out for private occasions. We've had wedding receptions and
Rewards banquets.
celebration of life. So we've had, and then community meetings like this. So this is really your building. So if you would like to rent this facility, you can see me after the meeting. North Hills Pavilion. So North Hills Pavilion itself, and then also ADA features will be upgraded this year. And Autumnwood Pool will have tile installed, and then also not so exciting, but again, it's exciting to our crews for maintenance and to keep the facility going. Our filtration system will be upgraded inside. And then, right across the street is Lake Newport Tennis. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, hi everybody, how are you? Lake Newport Tennis is our major hub for tennis. We run leagues through there, lessons. We do pickleball lessons up here to lead the Autumnwood pickleball because it's very popular. Try to get as many people down there as possible. Rentals, tournaments. This is an unbelievable facility. Right now, we're currently looking at renovation plans that will happen in a year and a half. We're switching over to LED lights, which is very, very nice for the players, and it's very nice on the pocket. They save a lot of money, and they can go with a timer system, so if it rains, they don't stay on all night. These new systems, you can change it with the phone. So if someone says, Rob, it's raining, I can just turn it off at the house and let them run out here. Hit the switch like I used to. That upgrade will be very similar to what you saw happen at Hook Road. If anyone knows the Hook Road project, the tennis courts, they have the LED lights. 60,000 hours per lamp, where we only get 300 now. So that's a huge difference. For Autumnwood, Autumnwood sits in a very low area, very swampy area. Now beautiful, but we do struggle with that facility. We are coming in this year, probably in June, and we will do crack repair, which the pickleball and the tennis people, players need, deserve, and they're going to get it. But we do have to have a temperature around 70 degrees for 10 straight days. They can't drop below 60 at night to have everything here the way we want it. Autumnwood also has the LED lights in the last 2 years. And North Hills Tennis, if you've ever been over there, they're absolutely stunning courts. They're award-winning courts, and they're probably some of the nicest on the whole East Coast. So lots of fun stuff coming for tennis and pickleball. Very, very exciting. And I have very easy emails. tennis@reston.org, pickleball@reston.org, heyyou@reston.org. I love what I do, so if I can help anyone with tennis or pickleball questions or just provide a service in any way, just let me know. Okay?
So hopefully you all have this on your coffee table in the bathroom somewhere. Doesn't matter as long as it's predominant, but every quarter this comes out, and this is really a great way for you to see. It's also posted online with additional links, but these are all of our activities, programs, community events, volunteer opportunities, and more. So I hope that you have this and that you use it. And our member services team at the main headquarters, they're available to help you 8:30 to 5. We do have some extended hours around assessment time. And then also we're looking at additional hours during the recreation pass season. Recreation passes are on sale. But as we know, as the very last day of Fairfax County is out, oh my gosh, I forgot my pass. And you can do that online. And we are working on improving the registration experience for members. On the member-facing side, we've upgraded the back end for our staff. And we have a plan, so I'm hoping that by the third quarter that we have that in place and that you all will begin to see and feel and be able to navigate that a little bit better. It's just an upgrade to the existing software.
Is that going to be the whole website or just that part?
Just that little button that says
Do you
web
know
chat.
what the plan is for the whole website? It seems like it's
I think I might defer to our CEO.
Yes, actually, I think literally right at this moment, our IT committee is taking up that question, but I'll give you the high point.
Yeah.
So we have a large work effort designed to integrate a number of different IT systems to make the user experience much better. So right now you pay your assessments and we have one platform for that, or you use your rec stuff and you have one platform for that. And then one of the reasons the website is so bad is we had data issue. Okay. And so we are in the process of looking at what a user interface to tie it all together should look like as well. So we have multiple facets of business line evaluation going right now. That'll go through this year and hopefully be implementable, at least starting in the fall, and then going on depending on the technical solution.
So do we have a vendor already chosen for building the site, or like how is that? Or is there somebody, like a staff member that's responsible for that?
We have a staff member that's responsible. We actually have two. So we have a communications person and then we have an IT person coordinating all the departments like Laura's department that have so much user interface.
Yeah.
And then we put an RFP on the street in the late fall and we're in the vendor selection process right now.
I just wanted to feed off membership and cards. We always have employment opportunities. Most of them lifeguards, as you know, we want to try to get more hours for lifeguards or more hours for swim time. That takes lifeguards to do that. So we have court monitor positions. If you have a pass, we want to make sure that, you're the one paying for the courts. You should be the one accessing them. So we're always looking for a court monitor to go around to spread information about tennis and pickleball, and then check your pass to make sure that you rightfully have the access to the courts.
Is there an issue that we have to pay somebody to do that? Is there a problem?
Yes.
Yes. Well, in a nutshell, Reston has the monopoly on tennis. So we have 13 tennis facilities. The only what you would consider public courts in Reston would be Herndon High School or South Lakes High School. And we're constantly throwing instructors that are to protect our staff, and they're not insured. We're constantly throwing people off the courts, and I used to throw away because this happens multiple times. As we grow, we need to fill in some of these slots.
We hire all ages. We will help certify people as well. And so I would like to introduce Mary Shedlock. She's with our Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. It's an advisory committee to the board, and you're lucky that she's just a stone's throw away. I'm sure she'll be walking the dog, and you can say, "Hey, Mary, I'd like to see this." But
I was going to say, one of your other big assets you didn't talk about are the pathways. The 55 miles of pathways that so many people utilize.
yes.
In the aspect of it.
And, if a tree falls on the pathway, I've been really pleased in my part of Reston that if a tree falls, it's picked up within 24 hours. It doesn't, maybe 48, but it's very quick, and we get our trails, our paths, snow plowed if snow still exists. And, and maintenance of those and mowing along the edges, and so the amount of upkeep that goes into those. So I also just want to highlight that, Mary is on this advisory committee because she volunteered. She stepped up and said, I want to have input. And there are many ways to volunteer. You can run for a board position, you can be on a committee. So we also just want to encourage you to get involved yourselves however you can.
And I think just putting into that, I think it's to provide input, like what Rob just said.
Yeah.
There's going to be a survey that's going to be coming out later this year.
Yes.
Because there's assets that are out here and like everyone's got their minds, but what else is out there? Because as you see, it's only a small population here versus how many people are in members. It's like talk to your friends and make sure they give feedback because that's how things happen. It's like giving feedback.
And I will say that, Resident Association is getting old. When RA first was created, these swimming pools were brand new, shiny, and kind of given to us on a platter. They're now 50 years or old, and so we do have a schedule in which we're trying to renovate and improve and replace some of the pools. Lake Road Pool has been completely rebuilt from the ground up, or from the ground down, maybe. And so there's a lot of decisions to be made all along the way. How do we deal with the assets that we've got that are aging, and so they need to be kept up to date. And so that's why we need a really good CEO who helps us keep those plans moving along.
So I'll just close with two things that you heard. One is the community survey will be out, and that will help inform staff and the board on your needs. So that will be coming out in May. You will get it pushed to you, so no worries. There'll be signage all over town, QR codes and direct emails. And then our contact information is in here. And it's also on our website, www.reston.org. So we encourage you to reach out to us at any time, and we're happy to listen and help.
So does anyone have more questions that are directly for Laura or Rob, or, I'm happy to open this up now to any questions that people have. So raise your hand if you got something
I
to
have a
ask. Yes.
question about when you talked about the survey. When people buy homes here, they're mandated to be an RA member. Why are they now, because I'm 10 years here, are they immediately put on an email list and put on Reston Now and RA, the newsletter on Friday? Are they automatically put on it? Because it seems to me we still have to do, advertising in town, we still have to capture you by email, we have to capture you by mail. Shouldn't we all be on an email?
So we do have to opt in for email, so that's why for some of you, when you walked in, I said, hey, this is every Friday if you'd like to opt into this. But when you move to Reston, there's a welcome kit, a welcome packet that's given to new members. That welcome kit is now on the website. And when you are here, then you get the information, and it'll have information that we have here, but also additional information related to covenants and other areas. And again, you have to opt into emails, but if you buy a recreation pass, you participate in a program, you will get our monthly recreation emails. And also included, if there's any information that you're interested in, reach out and we'll make sure that you can get on the correct mailing address for that.
Isn't there any way when you're signing the papers, you can have this piece of paper?
There are some emails that come to you automatically, but how many emails come into my mailbox that I never open, So,
Well, right, but I had to sign up for email, so I understand if they choose not to open it, your hands are tied, they can choose not to open the mail too. I'm just thinking, wouldn't that help you so that it's signing
It would be great, but it would be wonderful. I could just have all of the emails and be able to push that out, but we were told that we're not able to do that. We have to have people opt in. We can't just mass email them without their consent.
but we'll bring that idea up again to our communications and just say that it's an idea that continues to come up from our members.
I think at the time, you get so much wonderful information, and you're buying a home, and it's just overload. And so if somebody can just say, if you'd like to opt in, this is what you can do, and you get these wonderful emails, and then they know right away. And they opt in right then.
It's a great.
I'm sorry, did Mr. Dodgers have a question? Yeah.
There was some discussion about a big redevelopment of the dog park into many different things. Is there something happening there?
The dog park at Barry Cameron, what's that, is it? Fairfax County Park Authority.
Right.
So that's a different body than this one.
Right.
Fairfax County Park Authority owns, recreational properties all throughout the county, not just in, including Reston. And so I cannot tell you what the current status is of that dog park.
Does RA provide some input into what happens there?
So as members yourself and residents of Fairfax County, you absolutely can provide your input. And if it is a matter that's taken up by the board, then they may provide. So you're welcome to contact them. And we can try to get some of that information to you. So if you know, I will try to get that information to you. We'll look it up and let you know.
Communicate this about dog park issues. Yeah. Erwin, did you?
I just wanted to add a little more to your response to your question. And every year when the association sends out ballots, either by email or by paper, the ballots contain now and have for the last year or two a section in which you can opt in for receiving various pieces of information, email, or usually it's email because it's a lot cheaper than having to pay the post office. The other thing is that both Reston Patch and Reston Now are private entities which we do not control.
Right. Okay.
Other questions? There's a couple of reminders I wanted to share. Thanks so much, Lauren. Summer is just around the corner. And so not only can our families partake as guests of all of the recreational facilities, but as you've heard, as staff as well. And I know that it is important to us to hire a lot of lifeguards to keep the pool open. And I've got to say that my own daughter served as a lifeguard for many years, and now she's a nurse in the emergency department. The skills that she learned in lifeguarding also taught her leadership abilities, and they helped foster her career interest. So being a lifeguard is a valuable piece of employment. At the same time, my husband had a heart attack while at the Reston Pool and was brought back to life by Reston lifeguards. So I just got to say, if you know anyone who you think might benefit from being a lifeguard, we're getting better about helping make sure that there are ways that the training for lifeguards can be paid for through Reston Association if you get employment through Reston Association. Camp counselors are also another good way for, as soon as my kids were old enough to sign up for Reston camps, they participated in the camps. And then as they get older, they can become camp counselors. And again, it's a great way to learn a lot while serving your community. I also want to remind you all that there is an upcoming Board of Directors election. And so I want you to be aware of that. I'm going to later on make a few comments from a candidate, and I don't know if we've got any other candidates who are running who want to also make comments, but we do have both representatives from each of the 4 districts within RA. This is the North Point district, and so I'm still in position for another 2 years, so you won't get to re-elect your district position until that time comes. But we also have at-large, and in fact, this time around, we've got 5 positions being filled. So please pay attention to the election. We're going to have a lot of, there are going to be candidate forums coming up on Monday, February 27th, and Tuesday, February 28th, at the RA headquarters, and they'll also, I believe, be broadcast through Zoom, so that you can participate without being physically present. Summer camp registration is underway. Sale of recreation passes is going to start very soon. It's already open. All right. My husband likes to be one of the first, so we're already behind. We've got an information table at the back of the room with a lot of information that you might want to be interested in. And if you want to contact me, the best way to reach me is through the website or through ra-npdistrict@reston.org or bod.reston.org. So that always makes me laugh because it's BODDODD at Reston. But you can reach out to me anytime. And so I do have a candidate statement from John Farrell, who's one of the candidates for the at-large 3-year seat. John, when knocking on doors to distribute his campaign information, he took a fall and had a bit of a concussion. So that's why he's not here himself. So let me pull up my phone. And I don't know, Bob, you are also a candidate. Would you like to, while I'm getting my phone ready for John's statement, would you go ahead?
I will keep it very brief. My name is Bob Petrini. I'm one of the at-large directors. I've been on the board for 3 years, and during that time, I've also been the treasurer. So I'm one of the bad guys that say, we can't spend that extra $1 million this year.
He's really good at helping us make good financial decisions.
And I'm running for the 1-year at-large seat that's open, and I would like to, when you receive the ballot, you'll see my campaign statement, which it's embarrassing to talk about, but it's been a very, very rewarding 3 years, and I'd like to continue for another year. I'm very excited about our new CEO and his plans for the organization, and I'm going to be around to help. That's my primary objective. So consider it. Thank you very much.
So now I see that I've hidden my phone from myself underneath this, and that's where I've got the statement from John Farrell. So give me a moment here. Okay. So John says, I regret that I can't be with you tonight. I'm getting over a slight concussion and the doctor ordered me to recuperate for a few more days. Those of you who know me, says John Farrell, may know that I'm passionate about our community. I've lived in Reston for 39 years and been involved with our community for all of them. Since joining the RA board 9 months ago, I believe I've made a strong contribution. For example, I have actively promoted transparency and fiscal accountability for all association activities, employed my land use expertise to seek quality of life enhancements to the Reston Master Plan, spearheaded Reston's first professional parks and recreation survey to better understand the desires of our 63,000 residents. That survey will launch in May this year. Successfully advocated to save all of the open space at both golf courses, and together with my colleagues hired a highly qualified chief executive officer. That's a lot in a short time, and there's more to do. In the next 3 years, I will seek to further improve our wonderful city. For example, I will ensure recreational money from residential developers be given to RA to help pay for the renewal of our fabulous facilities and open spaces. I will insist that all new residential developments join Reston Association. If all new apartments become part of RA, annual assessments could go down as much as $50 to $100 each. I will assure the new Reston Master Plan preserves and enhances quality of life for Restonians, not just maximizes developers' profits and county tax revenues. I will bring my expertise as a townhouse cluster president to board deliberations, and I will seek solutions to surging trash hauling fees and reverse the service cuts. To do that and so much more, John Farrell asks for your vote for the 3-year at-large term and looks forward to meeting with you all soon. So I don't know if there's anyone else. I don't see another candidate who's running present. Is there anyone who wants to make a statement on behalf of any candidate? Okay. So I guess I'll open it up one more time for any questions that occurred to you late, because this is primarily a listening session where we want to hear what's on your mind. So anything else that you've got? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So just, now that you've been here for a while, have you looked at like the processes with like the design review board and covenants in particular? Because those are the ones that Barrett and I tend to spend a lot of time in because we're both on the board in our neighborhood. And for the last 3 years, we've done a lot of improvements. And those two entities have been very difficult for our processes. And I know if we got through it, we're lucky. And I know a lot of like neighborhoods would contact us and say, oh, how do we do this? And it's hard to tell them like, hey, this is not going to be an enjoyable process. And I mean, it's really, I think that's something that I'm curious how much you've looked into it and if you see any changes.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's a good question. Why don't I just start by saying I have shared experience with some of you without saying it's good or bad. When I went to buy my townhouse up here, we found an obscenely large amount of radon down in the basement, like 7 or 8 times the legal limit.
Yeah.
So for those of you familiar with the design solution to that, it's basically a small downspout that looks like a rain gutter that pops up out of the ground that allows for airflow to get out, right? And a small thing down in the basement. And so okay, I'm going to go install this thing. Well, no, because you need the DRB. And I said, well, doesn't this happen often, or what is that? Don't we have a standard procedure for that? Yeah, it requires DRB, and it'll be 6 weeks. And I said, well, I'm supposed to close in 2 weeks, right? And so you can see where this happens, right? So that was my sort of introduction to Reston. Am I going to be able to close on my house? And that meant my daughter couldn't start school because Herndon wouldn't take her if we didn't, so there was all sorts of things going on for me that week, in addition to moving and starting the job.
Yeah.
So to answer your question more directly, yes, I have looked in, but not down to the standards level. I've been mostly at the structural level across a variety of different departments. And by structure, I mean the relationship of the board and the DRB. So in most organizations, there's a parent and child relationship between a design review function and the board of directors. That does not exist here structurally. So there are automatic differences simply as a result of that. And it's not to say they don't work real well together, but I've looked into that. And there are definitely some things we'll be talking about relating to structure, process. Right now we have 5 levels, let's say, of design review approval, but going from 0 to 5 means a lot of time. So how things are qualified and how much authority is given at each level leads to timing. Now, the big question there is how much staff should be able to do on their own versus how much, an oversight body should have. So depending on who you talk to, there are some folks in the community that love a level of oversight that guarantees some level of slow it all down, make sure you get it right. There's a whole other subset of people that I talked to already in the first few months that think it takes way too long and needs to move faster, or can we just agree on the standards and move on? So actually our covenants director, Cam Adams, is not here tonight, but he does a whole lot of things with cluster leadership to come out and talk about.
We were on the phone with him every 2 months since the day he started.
Okay.
So,
So one of the things we started, and Cam started this maybe 18 months ago or 2 years ago, the board was concerned about some of those types of customer service things, and Cam has started a lot of those outreach events to get information out to then start talking about some of those process improvements.
so and I think to add on to what Laura said, I know both with the covenants and the DRB, covenants, and we've witnessed this, I think, for the last 3 years. We've been complaining about this for the last 3 years. You can call Reston Association and, for instance, ask about windows. And depending on who you speak with, you're going to get 3 separate stories, 3 separate answers. And so I think we've discussed this with Cam, but having better training for the covenant staff. I know that there have been instances where we've said, before Reston releases their disclosure docs when somebody's buying a home, they really should be reaching out to the board to make sure what the board has for violations, the Reston Association lines up. Because we've had, I would say, just about how many every year? But Reston signed off on a home that was not the correct color after we had just gone through a complete color design in the entire neighborhood. And basically the covenants advisor told the homeowner, oh, well, this is one of the old Timberview colors, which wasn't an old case.
And then what happened after that was the homeowner had to repaint this house that they just bought and didn't know. So they just bought a house, here's another $7,000 bill. Oh, and you've got 6 months to pay for it. And then the covenants department said, oh no, that's you. And it went back and forth and back and forth. And they finally had to paint it, but it looked like it was us as a board, and it was the covenants. And all they had to do, and we've said it many, many times, just call us and we'll let you know if they're in compliance. It'll take 2 seconds. Today was the first day in 3 years we finally got a call.
So you're asking for more communication between covenants and the cluster boards?
Yes. You can ask us literally anything that's going on in our community, and we can give you the answer in 10 seconds. And I think also looking at the DRB, I know, like you mentioned, the DRB is a major bone of contention. There are a lot of people that think that it should be in place, and then there are a lot of others that don't. While I do recognize that there are a lot of historical type clusters within Reston, I will tell you, we've done 18 DRB applications in the last 2 years.
For our neighborhood.
For our neighborhood.
Not singly, for the entire neighborhood.
Home prices have gone up $200,000 from where they were. And if she and I had not been, I guess, as forceful in getting those applications along, I don't see how any other community would go through what we've been through. There are specific members of the DRB, and I'll give you one example where we were replacing all of the signs within our neighborhood, and we wanted to paint the posts black. And this same person, whenever this person is part of the DRB, argued with us and said, well, no, all posts within Reston must be natural. And I said, that's not the case. All the Reston Association posts are painted green. The apartment building across from us are painted green. We had another one with we actually sent the email to you and the entire board of directors with all of the issues and complaints that we've had within the last 3 years in regards to our landscape lighting DRB application, that we had to go to 2 separate DRB applications, 2 separate DRB meetings for, and there's somebody that's still on the DRB that during that second meeting admitted 3 times that he's making decisions at the DRB based on what's in the best interest of his community. And so if he's allowed to continue to stay making those decisions, then you should have a homeowner from every association being able to vote on that. It isn't right.
No, because for him it was almost like sport, and you could kind of tell. But it just created work for volunteers, and it created more work for us. And I can guarantee you, like, if we didn't work, we've known each other for a long time, we work together well, and we don't typically take money for an answer when it comes to like our community, because we wanted our prices to be going up, and just the process, and some of the people that are allowed to be on the board, when sometimes they're supposed to recuse themselves, and we know a few of them that had connections in our neighborhood that were then causing issues for us, and like, there's not much we can say about it, but we know two in particular that should have stepped aside and instead created more work, and it was just, the process was not good, and that's the reason why a lot of these neighborhoods just simply don't update.
Well, and so reach out to me as well, and I've got to say that I have already seen that having Matt come in as an outsider to Reston and go through all these processes himself, it really, he has seen what goes on, he has already made some improvements in the processes from the things he has seen as a newcomer coming in. And I think he's committed to improving all those processes, as I know Cam is as well. And, I'm the board member for this district, so I'm happy to talk with you some more.
And it's really not, it's not really for our benefit at this point.
No, I understand.
Because we've already done it.
Right, but no.
Some of these neighborhoods that reach out to us and say, hey, can you help us with this? And we give them as many documents as we can, and give them as much help as we can, but we also know what they're up against.
Well, and you'll also have your next application for your.
We're good.
Okay. I just feel that
I just think
people-
it's important to like paint the true picture of what it's like from people that, like you said, we've done 18 of these. This isn't.
And I feel bad for people that have to submit them, because if things do not change, there's no way that there's going to be any improvement. I could literally, I'm not going
All right.
to, but I could sit here for the next 3 days and tell you everything that's wrong with the DRB.
And
Any other
I want to
questions?
add, not to make more of a mountain over it, but I do want to share with you that realtors, I've met multiple realtors say they hate dealing with RA, DRB. I've met homeowners that have sold their home, and it is an absolute horrendous experience for them to sell their home, to the point where they even walk in the backyard and say, where's that tree?
Oh, they do that. And then they'll make you plant a tree.
Yeah, it needs a common sense, it needs a human compassion, human partner to it, or whatever. It really needs to be looked at in terms of how they do it, the process. I had something done in the backyard. I got it kicked back 3 times. I had to take a picture of the front of my house for a deck in the backyard. So common sense, and I think people are very willing to do it, but I think what's happened is people also are choosing not to go through it.
100%.
Yes, and then it creates an even bigger problem because then there's no oversight and it ends up looking crazy.
We've literally, for tree DRBs, we've had the DRB members ask us, well, what warrants a dead tree? Well, we've got an arborist report saying that it's a dead tree. So why, if what our resident association is saying is that they're so backed up and there are all these applications, why are we even going to a DRB when we have an arborist report saying it's a dead tree?
Yeah, it needs to be looked at.
So just to end on a positive note, I just had a very good experience with my sidewalk. We're doing it, and they give me a turnaround, so at least there's sometimes I didn't do anything really strict, it was just replacing the sidewalk, but I did give up more quickly. That's all I'm gonna say. I agree there's a lot of challenges.
Yeah, I don't want to be negative, I just think there needs to be a picture painted of
No, I know.
user experience.
I know, I've lived here long enough and
Yeah.
I've painted DRB.
I thought we were gonna have questions about pickleball.
Sorry.
No, we get a lot of, people are very concerned about pickleball, but the pickleball players didn't really come out tonight, I guess. I'm glad that all of you did, and so I want to encourage you to continue communicating with us through, the Reston.org website. We'll help you find addresses for all of us. And so keep coming out to other listening sessions, and we really appreciate your input today. I'm really looking forward to the PRAC survey coming out in May because, a lot of things changed after COVID. And so a lot of what we thought we knew about how people want to use the amenities in Reston, I think we need to, that's why we're doing the surveys, to take another look and see, are people's lives changing enough that it needs to change how we manage some of our amenities. And so make sure that you encourage your neighbors to also fill out those surveys when they come out.
Yeah, because like just an example of that, you have to think about besides today, what are you going to be doing in 5 years, in 10 years? Because a couple of years ago when I was on prayer, no one even knew pickleball, including me. It's like, you don't do it, and you sort of have to think people aging, where your kids are, where they are, where you're going to be, and more people coming into it. It's not going to be what it was 50 years ago, so that's the thing we need to give people's input in. So please complete it.
I would add, it's a very exciting time to work at the association. We're talking about these facilities, it only happens every 25, 30 years. And
These
we're
things
coming
get
up-
approved and updated and,
You do a Lake Thorough, you do a Hook Road, you do an Autumnwood. So for me, and I also live here and I pay the assessment, and it's just a very exciting time. So your feedback is valued and important, and, Laura, how long have you been here? Yeah. So
More than 20
I started
years.
with already in 1999.
we got people here,
Yeah,
working
but
with us
so
for
when
more
Lake
than 20
Newport gets
years.
redone again, I won't be here, I promise you.
Yeah. So we need to hear from you all about what your priorities are. Thanks.